I'd like to call a meeting to order. I don't have a quorum, so we can go ahead and move on those items that we don't need to vote on, but we can move forward. So, I guess if you all could look at the minutes for November 20th, 2024. For those of you that were here, will you please look at those and make sure that they're correct? If there are any revisions or changes or deletions that need to be made.
The only recommendation, of course, is, I think it's just some type of fluke on Christina Duarte. She's Health Education Program Manager for Laredo Public Health. They put Florida, so we'll make that correction.
Man, we're supposed to report it there.
And in that meeting, we didn't have public comments, Mr. Somebody came.
The ones from the school.
Yeah,
Yes.
something.
For the sign language.
For the sign language.
Yes, Mr. Mendiola.
Ah, yes, sí.
Mhm.
Mr. Mendiola,
Yeah, I'll make it.
Mr. Flores, no?
Yes. Yes.
It's listed under guest introduction.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he hadn't kind of asked for the comment.
Oh, okay.
It was just, they were present for the meeting and they interacted with the committee during. And just a point of order, we didn't have quorum for November,
Right.
so if we do, these are, I guess, information only for what was discussed. But once we obtain quorum, if an additional member comes in today, it would actually be the approval of the October minutes.
Right.
So, yeah, so we'll make a note of that
Yeah.
also in the agenda.
The attendees are also, I wasn't here, so they have me as present, so that's good.
You were here in spirit, we counted
I
it.
wasn't. So we'll just make those notes and make the changes. I guess we Ms. Gutierrez, but she's still.
She's on her way, yeah.
Okay. And we'll let her know, we'll update her on all that.
Is that all the revisions or changes or comments that you all wish to make on the minutes? Or-
Yes.
So we'll move forward, and next item is public comments. I don't know if anyone signed up, or anybody could just wants to be brave enough to fly and go forward. No?
I could make one. Y'all were speaking about individuals that came to your last meeting. I wasn't able to be here. Mr. Coronel, right? He was a member of the deaf meeting. He actually had come to our office, and then we directed him to see if he could come here in person and just discuss with you a little bit about deaf culture. I'm not sure if he did mention, but one of the things that we had discussed when he showed up at our office was that during the time that the city of Laredo was under the board order notice, right, there was emergency sessions or emergency communication being provided, but there were not any deaf interpreters in those sessions.
Right.
And our office had noticed that, and we had reached out. We called 311 first. They gave us the number to Public Information Office. I left two voicemails on one number and two voicemails on another number that you, but we never got a call back. We basically just wanted to discuss with them like the importance of providing interpreters, especially during emergency notices. They also gave us an email, but we sent the email and it got sent back to us. It didn't work, and the email is still on the City of Laredo website. It's something pio-gmail@ci.laredo.texas.us, but it's not working. So that's basically just a comment from our organization, see if we can bring it up. So moving forward in the future, if there's any emergency notices being given out to the public, that they also include interpreters in their messages.
Okay, who's gonna take charge of that? Would that be you, Erica?
So I'll make a few comments about that. We also experienced some challenges when we opened the discussion of the need for an interpreter specifically for our committee meeting. Of course, this is something that has been pondered in the past. We also did connect with City Secretary's office on how they would do so, even with, you know, considerations with our city council meetings. And they did not have an established vendor relationship with an interpreter, which is unfortunate, but it is an opportunity for us to provide best practices and recommendations. We, from last meeting to now, we will have a standing interpreter if needed for this particular committee, but we've also shared the information of the services with City Secretary so that other committees have that available to them. We do have a disclosure in our, when we post our agendas, that if special accommodation is needed, there's a point of contact. But with these additional details on the PIO office, we'll go ahead and share that with their office as well. And we know that there's adverse weather coming our way in the next coming days. It's a recommendation that we'll again provide to them for that, so that any communication has that consideration as well.
So, I have a comment, or rather concern, or whatever we wanna call it. I think the city of Laredo has progressed sufficiently enough and it's grown large enough that I find it strange that every other city of comparable size, during any kind of public meeting, they have an interpreter available, or, you know, in the little corner, but they have one. And so, I understand what you just said right now, that if you need an interpreter to be available or interpret a meeting, that accommodations will be made. So is it justifiable to say, okay, so we're gonna have it only if and when someone asks for it, or should this be a standard protocol for the city of Laredo?
That's definitely a recommendation that the committee can set forth to the mayor. I unfortunately can't go and tell city council members, like, you should have an interpreter at every meeting. We'll go ahead and share the recommendation, but if an official, best practice or a letter wants to be drafted to the mayor, you're in your power as a committee, an advisory committee to the mayor on people with disabilities to establish that recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
what does
to
everyone
move.
think? Maybe I'm just being.
No, I'd like to
No,
move
yes,
that when
yes.
we provided,
Yes.
to write the letter
A
and
recommendation, absolutely.
to the city council, because you're absolutely right. We should have that available.
Even for the council meetings.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah,
So Erica, are you
and
saying
another-
that we, Mr. Castillon, drop a letter from the BRC? Is that how we communicate?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So I moved, do we need a second?
Now,
Point of order, Ms. Gutierrez just joined us for our meeting, so you do have quorum, Mr. Chairman.
you wanna introduce yourself, Ms. Gutierrez?
Okay, my name is Cecilia Gutierrez, and I'm the secretary to the BRC committee, so,
Good.
Good, and then what else you do, Ms. Gutierrez?
you guys really don't
No,
want
it's
to
good,
get
we all went
started.
around
We all
because.
went
we all went
around.
around. Don't feel like you're singled out because you're late.
I feel like I graduated from high school and elementary and middle school. In 2014, I was a teacher for 30 years, and I call it a graduation, not a retirement. And so I've been doing employment services for individuals with disabilities. Oh my gosh, I need to talk to you. By the way, she's a great dancer.
Yeah.
We had a night
You're
to
making
shine.
her blush.
I'm also a coordinator for the Night to Shine. My husband and I are pastors of a church. We're having an event coming up on, February the 7th, so I invite all of you to attend. I know I sent out some emails, I might have missed some, but I will send out the invite again. So I do quite a bit of work around the community, and we're really excited to be here. I'm really excited to be in this committee. It's been one of the biggest lessons in my life, so. Any questions, ask me afterwards, because I can talk forever.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you for being here. I'm taking good notes.
5 minutes, okay?
No, we'll talk about it later.
Downtown?
No, just a minor. We sent somebody to Florida, I don't know what happened. We'll fix it.
Sorry.
We'll fix it.
I multitask too.
I know. It's okay.
Okay, so thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here.
I'll go ahead and share it now.
Yeah, we'll put something together and forward it to the mayor's office. Thank you. Any other public comment anyone would like to make?
Just an invite to the night to shine.
Just what?
The invite to night to shine.
Okay.
We're gonna go around, we're gonna have none.
We can,
You're welcome.
let's sign outside.
Did you wanna go back to the item of approval of the meeting?
We haven't approved it.
Yeah.
Right, because we didn't have quorum, but now we do.
But do we have a quorum then?
No,
So then.
when you reviewed,
We reviewed them, but they weren't
right,
approved.
so if you wanna go
We
back
just
to that
discussed the
item,
two
Okay.
items.
to review them,
Okay.
to approve them.
Okay. Let me start from the very top. Attendees, I was not here.
Sorry.
I was in the meeting.
And
The
Spirit.
only meeting I wasn't here, and you misspelled my name, so.
Donna. Ándale.
Ms. Duarte does not have a second office employee.
I just promoted her, okay?
She
It's a
promoted
promotion.
Are you ready, Listen Orlando?
It's imagine, please, it's warm.
There's alligators.
It's okay, I know, it's okay. They're my turn.
And I believe that was it, right, on
That was
the
it.
corrections.
Yeah, that was-
How was it, Ceci? It's just those
Good.
two things.
Yeah, I'm gonna change.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Okay, so
Seth.
we can move on to item 4, which is discussion of possible action to finalize the BRC website revisions and updates.
We don't have everyone's picture yet.
Voy a hacer an updated picture, mira, es que tengo tan bien feo, mira, update picture.
She's
Just
gonna
send
go to
it.
the salon, get her hair.
I'm gonna
done.
no, I have a professional picture, that's what I should send over.
So it's,
So we're,
so are there
For the
additions to
website.
this?
that's the logo, for the
That's the logo.
website, it was,
Oh,
The website is just our contact information,
so
email.
we're still pending information.
Yes,
Sorry, I couldn't make the meeting, he got pulled to an interview.
it's okay. We'll send those to Jaime, ¿verdad?
Yes, please.
Okay.
so we'll table that for next time then. Next item, that will be discussion possible action to finalize BRC logo.
That's this one.
Okay. So you've got 5 items there to choose from.
And then these are the revisions based on your feedback from when we first presented them.
I'm just saying, ponle ojo.
I like this one, cause it's centered.
Okay, I like it too, now that you mention it.
Which one do you want?
Este,
Oh,
this
it's
one
more
centered.
It's centered.
What do you think?
We like.
She's like,
They're all the same.
They're all the same.
I said, no, they're not.
No, look,
Yeah,
pay
yes, yes,
special attention to the ribbon at the
Yes.
bottom.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ceci said, the very last one is all caps, so it's easy to read and it's centered.
Uh-huh,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Don't listen to me.
No, you're right, you're right.
Informed choice.
Well, we'll move to approve the last,
Yes.
the one in the bottom.
I like
Yeah.
1 and 5.
You like 1 and 5?
Me too.
I
So
like
do
five.
we.
So did we, honestly.
So,
You're good,
Yeah.
okay, so one,
That's why we
one,
approved
who
it.
wants one?
My word was my word.
Who wants one? Ándale, raise your hand, BRC members, who wants one?
I like one.
Bueno, raise your
Voy a
hand.
votar.
I like one.
Bueno, two, we're gonna knock you off.
Just two.
5. So we're gonna go
So we're gonna go
with 5.
Okay,
Yes.
that is good.
Yay.
This is a loud side of the building.
That's
You
okay.
need to vote for number one to make it a, you know,
Yeah.
good election.
Okay, thank you.
We're so sorry.
No, and they did good with these because the mine, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, we had changed
Yes,
that
yes,
from
and it looks good.
first that was proposed. Mr. Chair, may I regress on something? For a point of clarification, did we approve, because I'm not sure, that's what Ceci came in, whether we had quorum or not, on, the proposal to write a letter on behalf of this committee to have an interpreter for city council meetings et al. And others,
You're right, we need to do that.
Yeah.
because I don't think it was voted on.
So we need a motion.
I made a motion.
Okay, and I think somebody seconded.
Yes.
Who seconded, who were gonna let Ceci?
And
And then we
roll call?
vote,
Then we vote.
Yes.
all in
So all those
favor,
in favor?
Aye.
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 unanimous?
Yes, aye.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, we'll put a letter together and then we'll send it to the mayor's office.
Mhm.
And for the minutes too, sorry.
That's when we approve, consider it.
The minutes
Vote
too.
on the
Did-
minutes.
oh,
We
for the
reviewed
minutes.
and we advised the corrections, and then just for clarification, you're approving the October minutes because November was no quorum.
Yes.
So you would need to motion and second.
Okay.
all.
Okay, there's a motion.
So we motion, that we approve the October minutes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Who seconds?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've approved October minutes?
Mhm.
Okay.
And
And the-
the sending of the letter, so now you guys are with the logo,
Okay.
and
So the logo?
yeah,
We-
I think
we
we
voted.
voted on
Voted.
it, yeah, we voted.
So number
on it.
5,
Majority
right?
number 5, the last one. Okay,
Okay.
so we've approved that.
Letter C.
Letter C, discussion possible action, urban committee yearly strategic plan. I put this in here because it seems like every year we're like, we don't have like a set plan of where we wanna go. And I don't think that we're gonna be able to like finalize it right now, okay? But within the next meeting or so, we need to come up with a number of ideas that we need to follow through with.
Okay.
I know that one of the things that we did this year that was successful was, last year that was somewhat successful was the employer
Symposium.
Symposium.
symposium. And so that's something that we can consider, but, you know, one of the things that there's quite a number of members here, and I don't know if you have a particular, elements or items or things that motivate your organization that we should consider also. You all represent different populations as well as different disabilities as well as proposals and plans, and so, I wanted to bring that up so that we can at least have an idea about where we wanna go. And so those are 2 items. I know that we're still waiting on the jobs with the city committee, what is it called, no, not workforce, the chamber of commerce, okay, they never called us back, did they?
We've had, through the years, we've approached several times, and at one time, Miguel Cochas would come by for several meetings, I remember.
Adrian Zapata came and they were gonna add the module, and I believe they added it that last meeting when he was the ED.
There will be a module in their upcoming
Mhm.
business development certification program
Mhm.
that will speak on employment for people with
Inclusion
disabilities
and all of
and
that.
our
Yes.
all kinds of master
Mhm.
plan, city plan.
Another
That's
thing,
scheduled for April.
another thing we discussed, Erica, has to do with the training for the police force. And, one of the things that we talked about is, because she's here.
Go ahead, you're the boss.
No
This
sé
is
de
your
dónde.
floor.
No sé de dónde, but there have been many times that in this committee, people bring up the concern that some of our citizens with particular disabilities, if the police force comes and follows procedure, there might be a misunderstanding. For example, if I cannot hear, or if I have spectrum disorder, or if I have some form of brain injury, I may not respond within so-called normal parameters. That has been a concern that has come up several times. One of the things when we were discussing with our local police administrators is that we discussed about carving out like a time where we could train. And I remember there was training that we went through like the different groups around the clock, because people come in and people leave according to.
And that happened through vocational rehabilitation
And-
services.
And then further, we had recommended that perhaps this training be engineered to be part of the regular,
Like the new hire onboarding.
exactly,
The
or
academy.
be part of the
Mhm.
academy, the
Mhm.
police academy, have a module within the police academy so that we're not constantly trying to catch up. Because, you know, it's like with any organization, people come in, people leave. So, on behalf of citizens with disabilities, that was a concern that has, through the years, come up. And I don't know what the perfect answer to that question is, but I do know that it would be good to have this type of training ongoing with the police force.
Dr. Castillo, if I may speak?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Go on.
We have been training, we have been working with Officer Davalos and the Mental Health Division. We meaning the autism society, community. And we have a relationship where we go and we train their officers on, you know, how to respond and not to be alarmed if our kids or our adults seem like if they're ignoring them, or you know, because they have their mannerisms of pacing. We go through a lot of things. And the last thing we did was in their academy, the last graduation that they had, we went in there again and we talked to the officers, and they had very good, you know, questions. Maybe another letter now to also to the mayor, and having them say, or having us say, you know, they need training, and maybe not from a person and my level, but an expert.
The subject matter
Yeah,
experts,
yeah, a subject
which are
matter.
the folks at vocational rehabilitation.
Which leads me to think that, and, you know, not think microcosm, but maybe larger,
Oh, definitely.
there must be a curriculum in place
There is.
at a
So-
federal level, at a state level, that takes these things into consideration. And perhaps the module's already developed and in place, and just we have not followed through. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
there is a
the-
curriculum, but you know
Are
what,
you,
and then
are you an officer
expanding,
with the police, the Laredo Police
Yes, I'm an
Department?
officer with the Laredo Police Department. I work with the nurse evaluation, outreach unit. They changed their name, sorry.
Okay, so,
well, tell me
So
about
within
that.
the
Mental
Laredo-
evaluation
police-
outreach unit.
within the police force, they're training. Okay, my understanding is, I'm going back years ago. You all get 16 hours of mental health training as a part of the regular curriculum, okay? It's been determined that 16 hours is insufficient, okay? So there's another training that is sponsored primarily by, in the larger cities like Houston and Austin and San Antonio.
Alright.
Where it's a 40-hour training,
There we go.
okay, and you actually role play, you actually go through the role play, okay?
Excellent.
One of the obstacles that you run into is that the police department will always, and I don't know if it's still true, I'm going back 10 years or 7 years, would tell us, well, we can't have that many officers out of circulation, okay? We can't pull like 20 officers off the street, okay? And we're not gonna pay them overtime for being here either. Okay, so it's a 40-hour investment, okay? The difference between just sitting there in class and hearing stuff
And actually role
And
playing.
and the other one is the actual role playing, okay? And so there are scenarios that they put the police officers through about how they should interact with people who are displaying unique behaviors, okay? And it's not always an aggressive behavior, that's just the way one of the most difficult things that you hear about people who don't have the benefit of their voice or their hearing is that they get frustrated because they can't communicate, so they start, they get aggressive. It's not because they're just naturally aggressive, it's just because they're not getting what they need, okay? And so there have been talk, when I was at this community center, we used to actually send people to San Antonio, officers to San Antonio and Houston at our cost. Because the idea behind this is that there should be a number of officers that have been trained in this course during every shift. So if you run into a particular situation where you don't have, you need to call and the mental health officers show up. And they've been specifically trained to handle these situations in this population. And that's again so that we don't do takedowns and stuff like this because it just doesn't help.
Escalates.
And you know what I have a recommendation, Danielle, I'm sorry, if there must be something at the state level where they get a certification,
Yeah.
and that way, we're making the recommendation, and then they can follow up, or maybe the city's got some monies to approve certification for the officers. Could you share anything in line
So
with
this
that?
is, it was first called the mental health unit, with the new chief, he just changed our name to the mental evaluation outreach unit, right? So, since we started, we've had like 3 courses that we brought with the grant. We brought in some people who used to work with the San Antonio PD mental health unit. They came and gave us a training on de-escalation and crisis intervention. Last year we did bring, they call him Dr. Z, can't say his last name. Instructor Z. He gave us a mental health officer certification course, right? So I know for sure 2 of us already paid for a certification, but it was a good number of people that went to the class. I don't know if they already paid for their own certification, because it did come out of our pocket, right? But that class is mainly, we are a resource to the community, right? Or the officers, right? If they have questions in regards to where do we take this person with mental health issues or whatnot, we can direct them to the right place, right? But like you said, to keep your peace officer license or to advance it, you do need that 40 hours crisis intervention course that the academy does offer. But they don't offer it as frequently as they do, as we want to, just because they do have the academy going on, and then we have the officers who are on patrol, right? Then we would have to take them off patrol in summer, which just defeats patrol and makes everything harder for everybody else, right?
Officer, how can we do it better?
How can we do it better? I think it would be to sit with the chiefs or my sergeant, and the training division, right? Because they're the ones who decide who gets to go to what training.
And you know what, even a step further, taking it, putting that responsibility of the monetary or the financial back on the city, because it would behoove us, right, as citizens in this community that we're fighting and working towards inclusion, that I think more would be certified, correct me if I'm wrong, if those fundings were afforded, yes?
Correct.
And another thing we can do, since we're talking about a strategic plan, make one of these one of our objectives.
Well,
Yes.
that's why I bring it up.
Yes.
That's why I
Yes.
bring it up. And how?
But
see,
law enforcement, not necessarily, police department, because we have.
Law enforcement
we
across
have
the
in
board,
general.
Yeah, just
GPS,
everybody,
yeah.
all law enforcement.
Homeland
agencies,
Security.
yes.
We know the training here, we brought 2 officers from Houston, okay? And we invited all the law enforcement community, and that meant the officers from the school districts, that meant
Yes.
from the colleges, the sheriff's office, border patrol, a number of people, the police were there, okay? But again, the police department is the front line of most situations, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So those are the ones that need to be trained more extensively and more in numbers, okay? And so the idea is that there should be officers who have been specifically trained at every shift, okay? And so they run into a situation, they call it in, and the officers that have been specifically trained to de-escalate the situation, they're brought in. But sometimes, I'm not saying this because of you, but police officers are trained very differently to have a different mindset. And to do
Yes.
and if you don't pay attention or you don't follow orders, they don't hesitate in feeling compelled to do something that they feel threatened.
And with that in mind, that's why we have this partnership, but we need to work with this partnership and expand it a little bit more, where we have, they have a form, the Laredo Police Department and the Fire Department have a form, there we go, and that form is a voluntary form, it's for parents of children with special needs and adults, and they go, and that form gives the Laredo Police Department, permission to flag our number. So they're coming in with a mentality, say I
To
call,
flag your
to
license
flag
number or-
my phone number,
Oh.
and when it flags it, it's gonna say to the officer, person with a disability, or person with autism. So automatically, that will change the mindset of the officer. Okay, he's not gonna go out on hold, he's just like, okay, I'm dealing with a person with a disability. We did that, we also have some, bumper stickers that our organization gave out, and it also says, law enforcement, be careful, it says something about a person with a disability is on board. So when the law enforcement is coming, the officers coming from the back, they see the sticker, it's like, okay, that changes their
I
mentality.
have a question. What is the procedure to get that form out to the community, and how do we know that we didn't miss anybody?
No, we're still missing a lot.
So right
be
now,
sure that they're
the
in the
only way
database.
to submit it is in paper, right? We currently don't have it online or anything, so I have them, if you guys want copies, we can make copies. Fill out the front and it's like a little consent in the back, right? So like she said, we get sent to a location, a house, either EMS or PD, and it's gonna advise them, let's say a person with autism lives here, right? And then it tells you kind of the triggers, right? So hopefully dispatch tells the officer before they get en route, or they have access to the computer so they can see it before they get there, somebody with autism lives here. Okay, turn off the lights and sirens, lower the radio, right? Like, lower your voice, because you don't want to scream and scare them. It also has an option for a picture. Right, so for the little ones, if you put the picture of the runaway, we know what they look like before we get there, right? So we can start looking beforehand.
Now,
That form, when I do have a client, a family, that comes in, I usually go over that form with the family.
Great, thank you.
So that they are aware, of that form and encourage them to fill out the form and, provide more, information as to, for them to, go on.
And we've had success stories already because of that form. Okay, when children get lost or something's happening at home, there has been already success stories.
Yeah, I have a question or a recommendation. Are you all working with the licensing, Texas Department of Public Safety? So when the license is issued and they know it's an identified person, and that way you've got this driver's license number attached to the person, and you know this is the individual with a disability. Or, I mean, I think that would help a bunch.
I think that would be more on the DME, because they're the ones who issue out those licenses. We have nothing to do with them, we just run them through the system and get a return.
You know what, that's probably where we could start, right?
Another objective.
There's the confidentiality piece of it
Right.
too, but I mean, that would be good. That's what I was asking, is there a procedure whereby, everyone who has someone in their family with a disability has an opportunity to have access? Because, I mean, for me, I didn't really realize that you have that form. I think it's a great thing to do. I just hope we don't miss anybody's.
Yeah.
And also in an, annual emergency preparedness, that form is also provided to the families that participate in that, annual, preparedness event.
I think if we go to the source though, where they're getting the actual driver's
Yes.
license, you have a better opportunity to scoop more up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I can charge I can be charged with that, to bring them to the table and we have that conversation. Do you wanna?
We can approach them and have a discussion and then see where that goes.
Yeah.
Like I tell you, the only concern I have that might be a little barrier would be the confidentiality piece, but if they are giving,
They would
That
have to
be
give
so, right?
authorization,
Yeah.
yeah,
There
the
is a
parent
form,
or they or
yes.
them.
There is a form that they have there at the agency where you bring a doctor's note and it'll say,
Yeah.
like Tito, and it'll say has autism.
Mhm.
But they have a form, it's from the department already, so maybe
Who's
in
the-
I think you nip it in the
Who's
bud
the
if you
police
go to where they're
department?
issuing the
The
license.
DBS, no,
Yeah.
DMV, they have a form right there,
Motor
that-
vehicle.
Motor.
motor vehicle, where
okay,
you get your
going back
license.
to what you were saying is that we have to really have direction for the year. And I think that's one piece of it that would be a very helpful thing to our, citizens with disabilities. If I could just take a few steps back and look at it from far away. Your question was, we need to have focus, we need to have, for example, a mission statement. What is it, what are our goals for the year? You know, in the past, and we're talking about how many years we go back, I don't even remember. But what we used to do when, who was the chair, Mr. Spank from the college? We would meet, we would make recommendations, and then the next month we would get together. And I always used to say, hey, you know, we made, like, the last, I was looking at these notes. This meeting from, November 20th, we had future initiatives. We would do the same thing before. And then I would say, hey, for homework, who's gonna, you know, and you're real good about always picking up and saying, I'll do the homework. But perhaps at the end of each meeting, looking back at what we recommended. And and as we meet again, where are we on these initiatives that were proposed last time, so we don't
But-
drop any?
Yeah, but here regarding the strategic plan, the bullet that you put in here, right? We go back and discuss, okay, on the strategic plan, this is what we're gonna agree on it, right? And then move on it, and then we follow up, right? Cause it's gonna be
The
an
follow-up,
ongoing.
yeah, it's ongoing, and the follow-up, you know, and if we run into some problems, what was it, Richard Covey used to say, problems are our friends because they tell us what we
Yes.
need to fix next.
That's right.
So, if we look back and we find that we had some initiatives that, I'm not blaming anybody, I mean, I've been part of the group, sometimes we drop them because we meet again and then our community has other concerns, so we move on. But perhaps have a way of, like you say, go back and review and keep it ongoing so we don't drop anything.
Yeah.
Similarly, it's like the same issue that we had with the poisonous gas that was being released.
Oh, it's still being released.
Can we have then a number that would say old business?
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
that
we
we
can
can
have old
just go
business and
back
new
to the
business.
old business and see, this would be, the
Excellent.
plan would probably
Excellent
have to be.
suggestion.
Yeah, the plan would probably have to be old business because we're gonna be revising as we go. It's a living
Excellent.
and breathing documents. And also, if we're talking about law enforcement, we need to also talk about,
Yeah.
we need to reach out to the district attorney and see how they're going to be, the differentiation, there has to be a differentiation between a person who gets arrested that is a normal person and a person that has a disability. Because if you're gonna go put all these people with disabilities and the cells with the regular people, there's gonna be a problem. And I'm
That's why when
talking
you
from,
said law enforcement, not
Mhm.
just
Across the
first
board.
responders,
The
but you're
sheriff.
talking
Right.
about law enforcement.
Mhm.
My son.
and the system,
Yeah.
because we had a situation with one of our adults, and, he was arrested, put on the, I mean, the same thing that they do to the general population,
Sure.
this happened to our adult. I mean, he was smiling throughout this, because he didn't know.
Of
He's
course.
saying, hello, how are you? You know, he wasn't aware of the danger he was in. Even when he left, I mean, he took a selfie right there, it's like, okay, people need to understand.
Yes.
And the district attorney, I think he's the one that needs to say, okay, along with, I guess, the sheriff, I have no idea, but a holding cell for these people and a holding cell.
Sure.
No preferential, I mean, treatment, we're not saying that, but different holding cells and different ways that they're going to approach the mugshot, I don't know what happens, you know, I've never been there, gracias a Dios, okay, so, but how the process itself.
All right, this has been really good discussion, but I think we need to put it in the form of I move, I second.
Right,
Because we've discussed.
well, then
a
we'll,
myriad
Well,
of things.
I think we're gonna agree to put all our recommendations on the
Right.
strategic plan and then
Mhm.
visit, right? Is that where we are today or no?
Yes, I
You'll
think
just
so.
throw a bunch of salary
Yeah.
into the bowl, right?
Yeah.
And
we
then we're gonna
Yeah.
decide.
Then we need to decide for
And
ourselves
assign.
specifically what do we wanna do.
Mhm.
And the training that I was making reference to is the CIT, the Crisis Intervention Training.
CIT.
That's the one where the idea is that every year, the police department trains more and more
Let's take them one
individuals.
by one and
Okay,
decide
right,
if
so
we're
I don't know where they are, but I know at one point it was like, how many officers do we have training CIT? And it was like maybe 6, maybe 4 at most. Well, that's not enough, we've got,
No.
you know, we've got to.
Mr. Chair, so on this piece, it's a salad, on this piece, the CIT, what is it that we want to do with that
We
piece? Do
probably
we want
need
to
to- we
write a
probably-
letter to the city council? Do we want to follow through
Well,
with?
that's the police department, we'd have to bring them in, we'd have to like ask them, where are they with that training?
All right, so,
And so it's
on
been
an
years, so I don't
initiative,
know, is it still called CIT?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And so the
That's
CIT
what I
training is the one that I made reference, that's like 40 hours long,
Mhm.
that's actually like,
So I guess who would be the contact person for this program?
So I can reach out to Lieutenant Benavides, who's in charge of the training division, and see if he can make it out, or see if you guys can give me your number and then I'll give it to him so he can reach out to you guys.
Okay.
because I'm thinking what you said Diana, was, it would help if we approach city council to make funds available so that they could have the training.
Yes,
And
for
for
sure.
any initiative, that I can just interject quickly, any recommendation that's going to be made by the committee that requires money behind it, we would probably have to do it in the next, right after the next meeting that we have, because then that kickstarts our budget planning cycle for the city of Laredo. So if anything needs to
So we're in
be
good time.
considered,
At the
yes,
beginning of the
within the
year.
next, the
Mhm.
next,
So it could be
By the
planned
next
for
meeting.
within the budget.
I think so, cause,
Can we look on that? Did we all,
Yes.
follow,
Yes.
Robert's Rules of Order and move and second and vote? Could we put it in the letter and approach?
Absolutely.
Yes?
I mean, we're,
We're
okay, so we're
advocating-
talking about several things here.
so do we need
We're-
to speak to the officers training division first, cause they're gonna, so we want
I
to
would
ground
agree,
them?
yes.
Or do
They say,
we
well,
put
how
it
do you
in
send
the
up on the
strategic
agenda,
plan?
and I'm the one that's gonna be responsible for initiating or doing
Yes.
this.
Yes,
And how they send up on the city
Yes.
agenda.
yes, I agree.
So we
But-
have
but-
to switch to your.
But if we don't, I would recommend, it's only recommendation, that we don't wait until the next meeting, let's get this
I agree.
meeting going, whoever can show up, or wherever we wanna meet, let's meet. And that way we'd be more ready, because we are up against time for
Yes.
funding, right? So we get a better chance the sooner we get it done.
Call a special meeting, you don't have to wait till the next meeting.
Yeah,
Call me.
yeah, we can do a meeting prior to, I mean, we don't wanna wait until the next meeting, because if we're, advocating for inclusion, and the information and officer is here, right, it's hot, it's warm, let's not let it get cold, right? And, if we can call, if you would help us with that, I'll give you my card if that's okay. And then we can have that conversation and see what day works, and we'll check in with everybody at the BRC. That work?
Well, then we'll move to have a special call meeting where, in 2 weeks, maybe, and, where
Whenever.
the
they can
police
make it.
department can be.
Could you
Yeah,
let
I
us
don't know,
know?
I know.
So we
Mr.
get,
General-
be better educated prior us
Right.
going to,
Yeah, just as long as you guys reach out to him and see what his schedule looks like, I'm sure he can set something
yeah.
up.
Other than a
We're
Monday or
gonna go
Friday,
to-
something
to-
during the week.
Police Central, if you want us to come, we don't have to.
Yeah, we can come meet with
necessarily-
them if
we
you've
can
got a
go to you all
conference
if you
room.
want.
Yeah, we have several conferences.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll be.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Ya estamos ahí, no
Okay,
nos
so,
necesitamos.
okay, so, okay, nobody moved, nobody seconded.
I move, but, okay, so
For a
we're
special
moving
call
for a
meeting.
special call
Move
meeting
the call to speak to
to the police.
the
To
police
speak to-
department.
Lieutenant,
Benavides.
Lieutenant Benavides, I'll get my Sergeant Avalos, see if he can be there as well, just cause he's in charge.
Even the chief, get him in there too.
yeah, just get the whole party in there, we'll have a
Yeah.
conversation.
I'll talk to my boss, to talk to your boss.
Thank
How
There
about
we
that?
go, there we go.
Well, but this is coming from the BRC, right? So Mr. Castillo needs to be involved in that, right, for sure. Okay,
Mr. Castillo.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
let me know.
He's our chair.
I'll give him a call.
You'll be there too.
just so we're following,
Just let him
right,
know that
because
we're
we
going
don't
to be
want to be
calling.
getting all the
Okay.
lines.
You have an idea about what it's about. If
Basically,
you
we're
wanna give me the
voting.
number,
You wanna
I'll
second
give
it?
him a few
Okay.
days and I'll call
Okay.
him.
Thank you, Lois.
Okay, let's go.
Let's do
So
it.
That's
we
good,
want-
at least we're gonna get some conversation started.
So, Lorena, just to let you know, the
Yes, sir.
sheriff's department does have a mental health.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
Division,
they should
okay.
get more involved, sir.
Okay, 'cause
we
I
need
know
to
that,
talk to them too, because that's.
because I know that
Yes.
there was a specifically, individual assigned to the sheriff's department from Border Region for years, okay, I'm sure they still have it.
Mhm.
But just to let you know, but again, if we bring it to light here, it gets out in public and a lot of people don't have no clue that that exists and
Right,
that
that's true.
opportunity exists for, of services available to them. And so we can bring it up here, you know, at least it's on the public channel and they can at least view that,
Yes.
that's been addressed.
I agree.
So that's another part of it.
Mhm.
Well, I guess that
District
takes care of
is-
the first bullet that we had identified in November for future initiatives. We had written, increased outreach to connect individuals with disabilities to community resources and opportunities, I guess generally speaking. We could take care of part of that
Correct.
with this initiative, and then, the other piece had more to do with employability. Remember, we
Mhm.
talked about partnerships with educational and community organizations to develop training programs, including interpreter training programs. We talked about that because of the lack of training programs, or what was it that we
Or
were
the
told?
resources
Yeah.
for interpreters locally.
The
We
which-
often have to pull from,
Yes.
which is another challenge.
Yeah, but they get
Yes,
trained out of
yes.
town, but then they don't come
They
back.
don't come
And
back.
so we're still
We don't
lacking.
have. Mhm.
And then the last bullet we had in November was advocacy for inclusive practices and accessibility in public and private sectors. But I know, the undertone for a lot of these things were, we had just visited the vocational piece, the training for employment. So we've identified one in the salad, to use your metaphor,
So,
one, which is the police piece, and then the training. I don't know how you want to address that.
And you know, this is the police piece, and we've gotta get the Texas Department, right, the motor vehicles.
Yes, the motor
We've gotta get
vehicles.
Webb County, Sheriff's Department, all, if we're gonna,
Yes.
we'll start here, right? We'll
Right.
start here, and then we'll
Go
go
from
on,
there.
so that we've got them all informed, and then how can they help us, right?
And
Yeah,
then make sure that all of these
that was-
initiatives are in the, I go back to the strategic plan, because that's what's gonna drive us.
Sure.
And I was gonna
I
circle back to that, so I'm hearing main themes of, definitely training
Yes.
and more workforce development connections for people
Yes.
with disabilities, so
Yes.
those two are definitely, themes that we can tie into your strategic plan. What we can do is, develop a shell of a strategic plan, put it into a Word document that's shareable, where all of you can input and start working and drafting that.
I
So
request,
in the next, in the next
I
couple of days, we
request,
can do
Erica,
that.
that it be a living, breathing thing. In other words, let it, as we go, let us, develop and change as a community.
That's it, and do meetings and.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and set that up for you and give you access, and that way all committee members can start inputting any ideas or recommendations on that, and then you can finalize in the next meeting.
Also, I would ask, Ms. Ceci if she could, follow through on the piece that you were recommending, that to put old business as part of,
Oh, yeah, on the agenda, yes.
okay,
We can do that.
on the
Do we
notes
have to
on
vote on that?
our agenda, and old business.
we should.
So we can review what we did before and see where we are.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Okay.
So we need to make a motion on that, or move on that, or?
Yes, I'm sure, everything. Who wants to move?
I can move.
I'll second.
Moving and seconding.
About adding old business, about adding
To
old
the agenda, you have new business and
Well,
old
you're moving
business.
on
I'm like,
second.
okay, let me first and second, and I'm like, what happened?
It
You're
was
too far, the old business.
on the
Okay.
agenda, just to write old business,
Okay,
so
no,
we,
I'm gonna
so we
do
don't
that.
miss what we've
Thank you.
already done.
I'm like,
So
everybody's
let's vote
speaking
on
very
that.
generically.
I know.
To ask. Okay,
Okay, were we,
So we're
So-
gonna vote on that one. We didn't vote. We moved, we second, but we didn't vote on.
all in favor?
alright.
Aye.
Okay, so we've got the starting of a strategic plan, so that's.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got some, we did some,
Okay, so, letter D.
letter D, discussion possible action to formally request city Laredo mayor Dr. Rito Trevino to consider the prospective membership into the BRC of regular and frequent attendees interested in membership. The reason why I put this here is that there's a number of people who have shown up for years here. They've expressed that they would like to be members, and for one reason or another, it just hasn't happened, so I just did it, so that we could do it formally, okay? I know that historically, they try to keep it at 10 individuals. Angie, do we know how many people we have for sure?
The ones
Nine?
that are new. There's
Is it
10,
nine?
I count 10. Where the other ones?
You guys have 10 members right now.
10? So I know that
But we
it's-
also have members that have not attended, and
Right.
there is an ordinance that states that after 3 meetings being missed, that they would not be part of the,
to be dismissed.
You get called to the principal's office.
so that has not been enforced,
Because
but
maybe
it
that-
is an ordinance.
I'm sorry, Ms. Erica, but maybe that was not, they don't remember this, it wasn't conveyed.
It was conveyed,
Yeah.
very much.
But maybe if you conveyed it one time and I was in here, then
No,
I can
yes,
always,
yes.
well, you understand, you understand what I'm trying to say, and it's like, well, nadie me dijo.
We did.
No, no.
Everybody
Governance
has
is
to know
not-
that. And when, to discussion, I have discussion on this, Dr. Castillo.
It's okay.
The
that-
thing is that, for me, when I read this, I was like, okay, we're gonna, first of all, it's in the charter, I believe. So we're gonna approach the mayor, but we're gonna open a can of worms because all the other committees, I don't think they've done that. There's other committees that the mayor
Sure.
appoints, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think they've come up and said, okay, we want regular people, the people that attend regularly or frequently. That would be one thing. Another concern that I have is like, when do we say, this is it? And after we cap it, and we say, okay, we want 15 members, and here comes Mrs. Orduño and says, okay, well, I wanna be a member too, let me start showing up. And then you deny me, then I'm gonna go
Haywire.
sue and claim discrimination.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, I couldn't get in, and I'm always going, but Diana got in. So discrimination right there. And I'm coming from the perspective of the other hat that I wear for LISD, and it's like, we have to be extremely careful and go through legal for this.
Requirements.
And, yeah, and a couple of notes with that, so typically, so the difference with this committee is, and yes, there are other mayor appointed committees, historically, there has been recommendations of additional members to be considered by the mayor, by the chair, which is a discussion that has derived from a committee discussion, then he provides the recommendation. So that has occurred in the past where they recommend an individual for membership. Regarding membership, numbers of, the amount of members in the committee, membership terms, all of that, that's been relatively ambiguous for this particular committee. I know at one point there was discussions of establishing bylaws. I wanna say there's a draft somewhere out there in the universe. So perhaps the approach for this would be to revisit that, formalize that document that would then delineate what the committee would want, how they would want to operate, and then, go from there. Because at this point, a lot of the members that have been here since the creation of the committee in 2010, and the mayor has, upheld the appointment. So, that would be my little side note for this particular item. In terms of membership, I mean, of course, that would be something.
Well, that's
very
such a
much
discussion,
under-
and
yeah.
the only reason why I put this on the agenda is that some people who have been here consistently as visitors have expressed very strong interest in being members. And so, and I understand there's discussion regarding this issue around the idea that the more members you have, the more difficult it is to get a quorum.
That's correct.
So should we go in that direction?
And in the
Get a
beginning,
quorum and agree, right? I mean,
And then there's,
the
but I
bigger
do-
it is, the bigger the monster.
And
I
I'm
don't mean that
okay.
in a negative way, I mean,
No,
but
no,
I
it's
agree,
just-
there's
I
like
think
a
we
bigger,
should, do we need to like, make a move so that, you know, we prepare all these things before we approach, city council or have, ask the mayor? I think that's an excellent
Mhm.
suggestion to get, you know, get all, everything
Go
together
into the
so we
bylaws.
know
Yeah.
what we
I
want
have
on the
the-
bylaws.
What we have worked on, the bylaws. What I would do is, I'll send them to you, and we had worked on it together, remember Danielle, you and I? But I'll send them to you and Mr. Cherry.
I think
I
that
mean,
would
I
be the first
remember
step.
seeing it,
I'll
but
send
it
it,
would
It's
be
been
a
up
while.
to the
I'll send it, we'll
committee
look
to
at it
formalize
again.
them and.
Well, it's not finished, that's,
You're
it's a
right.
work in progress.
Okay, that could be part of the strategic plan, right, we got that on there now too,
Okay,
right? We're good.
move, second,
Bylaws.
everybody,
Yes,
see, we all agree?
Okay,
What,
the
we
bylaws.
don't even do Robert's rules of development. So,
Okay,
Great suggestion.
so regarding the addition of new members, you want to include them and request from the mayor or bylaws, or what procedure
I
do we
would
want to
say
follow?
bylaws, like Erica said,
Bylaws
we need to establish, because
yeah,
if there's not a procedure to protect us from lawsuit,
Are we one of the smallest committees?
So maybe we should table this
I've heard of other committees
Well,
that
to
have 20
table.
members, so I don't know how true.
until we,
look
We
at the
revisit
We
the
can
bylaws.
look
bylaws.
into membership of other
I
committees,
can move it
but
too much.
Yeah.
I wanna say should be average to average.
but it was good, we had good stuff.
So maybe we move, I should move to table item D until we look at the bylaws?
Yes,
I mean,
Second,
yes, there we go, done.
And the other thing,
second.
Angie is still very, she's been absent.
I already
Oh,
sent it.
but you know,
Yeah, and that's gonna be reported in your biannual report, by the way, so.
I'm gonna have to. put
They
them
need
on.
an absence slip.
Alright.
Take care.
Thank you. But yeah, we'll definitely look into it as well.
Okay,
Because another, thing I wanted to make note of within this discussion is originally when the membership was comprised, it was with the intention of bringing to the table both school districts, workforce, and other, other,
Support.
partners, organizations that tied into, that would be able to facilitate, solutions to a more inclusive Laredo. With that said, I mean, the makeup of the membership has changed, so sometimes, we have members in dual roles that can satisfy that requirement of, addressing certain organizations. I think at one time we had 4 members that were all workforce solutions.
Yes, I remember.
So it really just depends. So I think going back to that core of having those guidelines established, having them formalized, then we can refer back to that. And we will definitely pull on legal's expertise as well to assist with that.
Because I remember initially, the membership was determined by the mayor.
It typically is, and there has been a member that he has appointed, which we became aware of in a council agenda, and I don't think that individual ever showed for his oath.
Right.
So, but there has been other instances where, again, either there's a member in the community that has expressed interest or that has been attending meetings, and then there's a recommendation by the committee to the
I remember
mayor
that
of
too.
including them as a member.
So we tabled it for now.
Mhm.
Still in the strategic plan. Okay. Next items are presentation of reports and updates. Letter A, updates on public health, autism surveillance program by Kathleen Chavez.
Yes, hi everyone. Just some quick updates. I know it's already a little bit past 12, but just some good news for our community report that we're giving back to our families here. It's already waiting on clearance from the CDC, so thankfully we already made our key takeaways on what our data means for Laredo. We also already made our 12 visualizations for how autism and other developmental disabilities look like in Laredo. And also this data will also show why our findings are so important, like why are the numbers important, also how our partners can use this data. So we're gonna also list why and how they can be used, and why partnership with our division is very essential, because since we're very new, some of our partners are kind of iffy on partnering with us because it is our first couple years here. So we also are explaining that, but it's also already set to launch for March. So we're very excited for that, to give finally all the data we were working on for almost 2 years now, to give back to the community. And I know Ms. Carmen might talk about it a little bit more, but she did host a Platicas event, which I think was very, very helpful, because we were able to hear back from our community members as to what's needed here. And we heard a lot of things as to there's many resources, but we don't know anything that's out there. So I think that's one of the things that we have been talking about. And I'm glad that Carmen was able to set that up, because we learned a lot about that. So we talked with Dr. Montes about newsletters, possible engagement. We also found a new area when it comes to legal. We heard some families that they didn't know that they can start thinking about guardianship around age 15. They can start it earlier, so we thought that's a great area for us to see how we can educate our families. Possibly bring a speaker from the Disability Rights of Texas to come to our school districts, talk to our families. And yeah, that's kind of some of the things that we've been working on, but I know we're more on the data side of things, but if there's any way that our division can help out on any of the initiatives in the strategic plan, I'm more than happy to help out in that, and that would be all set for our division.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Next is a report on the family support for children and young adults with special needs program by Carmen Andan.
Hello, everyone. Well, one of my quick announcement today is that the program is now doing the case management portion with families. So it's working more individualized case management with them, in assisting them with more community resources, individualized with medical expenses, assisting them more with connecting them externally to other community resources, due to the fact that we don't have here a lot of the specialists that they are in need of. So it's more individualized, so that's something that the program is now working. And I encourage you to refer any family kinds that may need the case management portion with them. And another announcement is that in regards to sensory rooms, we will be working one in a couple of months, the one in the south area, in the Sophie McKendrick Library. Okay. And hopefully also working now more with Ms. Jenny Sanchez and Ms. Stanley in working those sensory rooms in the Paskin and Leden Recreation Center.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item, any announcements?
Yes, I have an announcement. We are having an event called Night to Shine. For those of you not familiar with it, it is a prom-like event for individuals with disabilities, 14 to whatever age. I know that we all sit in this committee, but it's a really great event. This is the only night that you can ditch your husband or your wife and go stand and dance with someone else that you've never danced with before. But the truth is, it's an amazing event because the last year the church was able to donate over 100 dresses. This year we have been blessed with an agency. It's called Stepping Stone, run by, it used to be run by Randy Linedecker, but now it's run by Mr. Hall. They have men's suits from the Men's Warehouse and Calvin Klein that are going to be given to the boys. We've always been blessing the girls, but this year they're brand new. So it's an amazing event. I know the police department comes over, DPS has been there. I mean, a lot of organizations get together. So I encourage you. It is, I think I sent out notice to everyone. If you did not receive an invitation, please, more important than anything else, we need participants, okay? Because we usually get flooded with volunteers, but we need participants. Everyone knows someone. Disability doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's an IDD, it's autism, and it can be that the person is in a wheelchair. It might be that a person had a heart attack. It might be the stroke victims, any of those individuals. The idea is that we honor them and we bring them in and we tell them that the community supports them. I have organizations that are going to go over and they ask me, how do I dress? Wear a uniform that you wear. And I say that because the ones that we want to be highlighted are those individuals who have disabilities. We want to highlight them. They come in their prom dresses, their tuxedos, whatever. If you're Chick-fil-A, I want them to know that Chick-fil-A supports them. If the cow has shown up, we should show up, okay? So I encourage you, please find the time. It is going to be from 5:30 all the way to 9 o'clock, and we say 9 o'clock, but it's usually later. And if you have find the time and you want to help us pick up a little bit, we would welcome help, okay?
I have an announcement too.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I know. Our organization will be 25 years old in April, so we're gonna be having a gala. Our gala is set for March 27th from 6 to 9 at the IBC Annex. If you would like to sponsor a table or show up, then let me know. Okay, so thank you.
Good job, everybody. One last announcement, and kind of tying into the Night to Shine, we should probably have a conversation with you after, Ms. Hesse. The city is team leading this year, the Healthier Texas Challenge. This is a statewide initiative by a nonprofit called It's Time Texas that promotes healthier lifestyle. So during this 8-week challenge, 8 weeks, right?
Yes.
8-week challenge, we encourage healthier habits with eating, drinking water, and physical activity, which includes dancing. So there's an app, you track your activity, but it's also a statewide competition. So last we checked, Laredo was 4th place. If you need assistance in signing up, Miss Christina, Dr. Angel, I can help you how to set up with the app. Please share it with your family and friends so that we could all make all of those points for Laredo and hopefully be in the top ranks by the end of the challenge.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make one quick announcement?
Yes, sir.
Our organization is working with the University of Montana Rural Health Pathways on this research project that they're doing. Basically what happened, I went to a training to offer a training to people with disabilities. The goal of the training is to help them identify meaningful goals, learn how to advocate for themselves, how to find community resource and any emotional help that they could, any emotional resource tools that they could develop. It's pretty much like they have to go through 10 meetings, but throughout the process they will get a couple of surveys, up to 3 or 4, and they'll be compensated for every survey that they complete. If you know of anyone that might be interested of the service or the training, just feel free to pass on my information. I'll go ahead and pass on.
Is there age?
They have to be over 18. So
okay.
I can explain the eligibility. They have to have a disability, be 18 or older. They must speak English and use a computer with or without help, and they have to live in a rural area. I know Laredo is not by definition considered a rural area. I'm still trying to see if I could get a little bit more clarification where I can include people from Laredo just for the lack of resources that we have within the community. But until they give me that word, right now focus on the
Right now it's targeted for
yes.
the rural.
And I'll go ahead and pass them out to you.
You know what, we're working with Judge Guerra from Jim Hall.
Okay.
February 13th, we'll be collaborating with him for a health fair. Maybe you wanna come and
Yeah,
pass out
definitely.
your information. I'll give you my card.
Okay, awesome, yes.
Okay. So can we move to adjourn?
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I get a second? Second.